I think I'm live. I think I am live. Test. Test. Test, test. Hold on. Hold on a second. Let me refresh that. Testing, testing. Test, test. Test, test. Okay, it works. Wow, it's so yellow. The lighting is so yellow in here. Oh, it's yellow on the iPad. It doesn't look too bad on here on the MacBook. What? It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. He's got space. Here, Simone, you want to move that out of the way, bud? You can lay. Come on. I want to make sure people can see it, though. You got plenty of space, bud. Oh, okay. We're going to wait until we get a few people in here, and then we're going to start. Dynasty Warriors in the house. That's funny. Okay, guys. If you've never seen one of these post Grand Slam wrap-up shows, what I do is I have a board here, and I go through these topics one by one. And in between the topics, I will answer questions in the chat. So this is very much a Q&A. So feel free to ask whatever you want, any topic that you want. And I'll get into the chat in between these topics that are on the board. There are not that many topics on the board today as there are usually, a little bit less, because we covered so much over the last 2 weeks. It was a blast. We did a lot of live streams. We did a lot of videos, one per day, and at least one match per day. Sometimes it was two. Did I do three? I don't know, but there was a lot of live streaming, so we covered a lot of ground, because there's really no need to do repetitive content and start talking about things, the same things over and over again. So for that reason, I don't have that many topics on here. So this is going to be very much a Q&A. So feel free to ask whatever you like. Yeah, of course you can ask outside the board. Yes, David, you can. This is very much a Q&A. You ask whatever you want. Ask as many questions as you like. It doesn't have to be tennis, by the way. I mean, ideally it's going to be tennis related. It can be technique. It can be anything. And we'll do a nice Q&A. We'll wrap up Wimbledon. It's been a great tournament. And we're gonna get into the first topic on the board, which is 25th. It says 25th right here. You see that? 25th. So what I'm talking about is Novak Djokovic chasing number 25. But here's the thing, he's really not. And I think it's a very interesting subject because I've seen some things on social media about Novak getting 25, and he's been asked some very disrespectful and lazy questions in the press conferences. And after the match against Sinner, he was asked a very disrespectful question that was just quite frankly lazy. And the question was like this. It was maybe the second or third question in the press conference. And the guy goes, Novak, you seem to be more competitive than last year. Now you're asking a guy that's reached 4 semifinals in a row in 2025 at the Grand Slam level and won 2 tournaments, won Geneva and Athens and reached 4 semifinals at Grand Slams in 2025. Only lost to the big 2, either Sinner or Alcaraz, and you're asking that guy, you seem to be more competitive than last year. First of all, it makes no sense. It's like a lazy question, but Novak got upset. I don't know if he really got upset, but he kind of snapped back at the guy and goes, wrong. And the guy kind of keeps steamrolling with his question, whatever it was. And then Novak again goes, you are wrong. I'm always competitive. So I thought that was very disrespectful towards Novak. And there's been a lot of disrespectful things written about him. And listen, I'm a guy that was cheering for Nadal. And how many times did they play against each other? Like 50 something times. And Novak drove me crazy as a Nadal fan. But over the years, I learned a lot more about Novak as a person. I know some of the things that he has done outside of tennis to help people out. And he just seems like a great person, kind person. And, you know, I'm actually glad that Nadal retired because now I get to actually watch Novak and enjoy his battles way more than I did when Nadal was still on tour, right? So I've got to tell you, over the last years, couple of years, or maybe even just if you focus on this year, Novak has given us so much entertainment. Just this year, the Draper match in Indian Wells, the Sinner match at Australian Open, the Fonseca match at Roland Garros, the FAA match at Wimbledon. I mean, right there's 5 matches that are absolute blockbusters. They're so entertaining. The guy is ready to die on the court. And the big question is, and the big motivating factor for all of us, you know, not only in the game of tennis, but in the game of life, is what's the point? Now, is he doing it for 25? Is he doing it for 25? This is where it gets complicated. I'm glad that I'm covering it here in the Q&A because I didn't talk about it at all after he had lost to Sinner. And it's a yes and no answer. He doesn't care about getting 25. There is no such thing as beating Margaret Court or whatever. Novak does not care about that at all. I'm sure he's aware of Margaret Court, who has 25 slams, but he doesn't care. He has the most slams out of any ATP player in history. And I'm sure that's a significant, achievement for Novak. But whether he's going to stay at 24 or get 25, I'm telling you, he doesn't care. He passed some record at... what are you doing? Timers can't be set. When did I set a timer? He broke a record of Federer this year at Wimbledon. He didn't even know about it. They asked him, and you were aware that you just broke a record? And Novak is like, I have no idea. I wasn't even aware. So he's not playing for 25. But here's the thing, though. Like when Novak enters a tournament, he's entering it to win it. There's no doubt in my mind that he wants to win every single Grand Slam that he enters. So that's where it gets a little bit confusing. Like he wants to win, for sure. But he doesn't care about necessarily, like he's not obsessing on getting 25 for whatever reason, right? So here comes the important question. What is he doing it for? Why go through this torture? Because as he said in that interview, in the press conference, like the amount of work that he goes through to get ready for a Grand Slam, it's torture, and the recovery time after these matches and trying to get his body ready. Listen, at this age, 39, you recover slower. And this is for sure a huge effort, and it's a torturous effort that he's going through. Question is for what? Because he has nothing to prove. He could have easily retired after the Olympics in 2024, and he would have been regarded as the greatest ever. So first and foremost, I have to say that what he's been able to do past the Olympic gold medal is nothing short of sensational. And I think it's something that needs to be discussed more at this age. Being able to go deep in every single Grand Slam, with the exception of this year's Roland Garros, where he played against a phenomenal Fonseca, played the match of his life. That was such a great match. Fonseca was so good in that match. But Novak has been right there going all the way into the semis. And, like you said in that post-match press conference, normally it's been the body that's kind of shut down. Either the energies were low, the battery was empty, or it was an injury, some kind of injury that he sustained. But Novak said this year he felt good. The body felt good. The body held up. and he was simply outplayed. Sinner was the better player. Novak did not find his best level, and Sinner was just simply too good. So the fact that Novak is doing this at 39 years old, the fact that he's given us all this entertainment, all these matches, is so incredible. And if I make a direct comparison, when Jimmy Connors did it at 39 years old and reached the semis of US Open, it was like one of the most spectacular things that we've ever seen. And hundreds of times we've seen replays of that run of Connors at the 1991 US Open. And, just because it's Novak, just because, there's that fan base of other players that doesn't like Novak or whatever, or just people generally don't like him. Even if you don't like him, you got to respect what he's doing on the tennis court, which is beyond comprehension at 39 years old. To be able to basically be the third, maybe he's the fourth. Zverev is playing very well right now. I don't know, but last year Novak took out Zverev at Roland Garros in the quarters. To be able to be right behind the top guys at this age and be competitive on tour and pretty much beat everyone else, it's so unbelievable that it deserves to be talked about more. And here comes the question again. What is he doing it for? Is he doing it for number 25? For his 25th slam? I don't think so. Here are my theories on why Novak is doing it. First and foremost, it's for the love of the game. He loves the life on tour. He loves the competition part. It's a urge that he has to compete and leave it all out there, certainly. That's it. I think to some extent he's playing for his kids so they can see him compete at the highest level. I think that's part of it too. The kids are older now, and they're going to remember their dad playing. I don't know how old they are, but I'm sure they're going to have some memory of it. And most importantly for me, I think Novak is enjoying the support of the crowd. I've said this before because prior to him losing to Medvedev, when was it? 2021, right? In the final where he was ready to take the calendar Grand Slam. The crowd wasn't on his side, especially when he played Rafa, especially when he played Federer. The crowd was against him. And I think that's something that Novak drew energy from, certainly. But in that match against Medvedev, which he lost in straight sets, he got teary-eyed afterwards because the crowd was showing him support. And I feel ever since then, even against the super beloved Alcaraz and Sinner, the crowd has been on Novak's side. And I think he's enjoying that, at this late stage of his career to have a crowd that's very supportive. So, like I said in a couple of videos this week, they asked him whether he's going to come back next year for Wimbledon. He said yes, one more time. So I think Novak planned this out perfectly. Look, it's already 2026. We're not far away from 2027. He can pretty much call it quits this year after US Open, which is like not far away. And next year is 2027, which will probably be his last full year on tour. 2028 is Olympics. And I think Novak will retire at the Olympics. And here's the thing. Because he's playing at this incredible level, still, at this age, I think Novak will be able to beat Father Time and retire, I don't know, at least in the top 20, maybe even in the top 10. But top 20, I think for sure. I don't think his level is going to drop off that much next year. I think he's still going to be very competitive. That's how unbelievably good he is at everything that you need as a tennis player, which involves like recovery time and preparation and all that. And he's going to get himself, he's going to schedule the year so that he can continue to play next year. He might not play that much in 2028, but he's going to keep going for a little while. And it's going to be an incredible retirement. Now, when I said this in a video last week, some people said that his level is going to drop very fast. And listen, I have been waiting for Novak's level to drop. And I've said this publicly. I think Novak eventually will get worse and he start losing first, second round at slams. And I've lost the belief that that will happen at all. I'm telling you, because I don't think it'll ever happen. He'll stop before that starts happening. So he'll be 41 by the time he retires, and I think that's still young enough, so to speak, to still go deep. At least like fourth round, quarters, maybe even semis. If his ranking is high enough to not play against Sinner or Alcaraz, because against everybody else, maybe Zverev, that's another topic for another day. I think he's going to be able to do it, and it's going to be incredible to watch. Now, I said that Novak might be playing for his kids, which brings up the next topic on the board. And we're going to cover this real quick because this can lead into some questions. And that's Serena. And it's so weird, her comeback, because it was announced shortly prior to the start of Wimbledon, and then it kind of happened rather quickly. She lost first round, and then everybody kind of forgot about it, especially once she pulled out of doubles. It was very anticlimactic. And I covered that match, and honestly, I don't understand her comeback, because it's one thing for Novak to keep going and to be competitive, but it's another thing to not be competitive in your last year, in Serena's last year, because she really wasn't competitive that year. Lost in the first round of Wimbledon to Harmony Tan, and lost to Raducanu like really easy in Cincinnati, I think, and then won a couple of matches at the US Open, played pretty good, but then eventually ended up losing to Tomljanovic, and then she retired, and I was like, okay, this is great, she's the GOAT. And now she comes back at the age of 34, and it just makes no sense. Like, what's the point? So maybe she's just like Novak and wants her kids or kid, I don't even know, my apologies, but wants her kid to watch her play, although I don't know how old the kid is, but the kid's going to remember. So that could be a reason. But other than that, it's a very confusing comeback. And I was wondering what the point of it was, if it's just going to be like one and done, like one tournament and that's it. I just couldn't imagine going through all that and getting yourself ready for Wimbledon if you're just going to play one tournament. But I read this morning something that Renee Stubbs said, and which is that Serena does plan to play US Open. So I think at the US Open, it's going to be, a different Serena. It very much depends on the draw, but that's her favorite tournament, and the crowd's going to go crazy. And she proved against Maja Joint that she can win matches on the WTA Tour. Certainly, she can beat players in the top 100, no doubt about it. But there was evident in that match that the movement is so impaired at this stage, which is very natural for a player to experience. It's just what every player goes through. You lose the legs, and then you lose the power. So she hasn't lost the power yet. Quite, she can still hit the ball quite hard, but she lost the movement. And any ball that Maja was hitting in the corners, Serena wasn't even attempting to run down. So you're not going to be competitive on the WTA Tour. There's no chance to win a Grand Slam. There's no chance to even go deep in a Grand Slam, or even to challenge the top players. Which brings up the question, what's the point of this comeback? I think even in Venus's case, it's a little different, because Venus just kept playing, but being off the tour surely doesn't help either. So that one, it's a little bit more difficult to understand than Novak, and it kind of reminds me of a Bjorn Borg comeback. If you guys remember, Bjorn Borg came back and played for a little while after a long absence, and Bjorn Borg was an incredible player, one of the most legendary players ever, and I never forgot that comeback. I was old enough to be able to watch it. I know he came back in Monte Carlo and played Jordi Areze, I think, if I don't remember correctly, and lost in straight sets, and I don't think Bjorn Borg won a single match on the tour. He came back with wooden rackets while everybody else played with but everybody else switched to graphite. So that was brutal to watch. I don't think it tarnished Borg's legacy or anything like that. He's still Bjorn Borg. So this will not tarnish Serena's legacy, but I just trying to figure out what the point is, other than for her kids to see her play, if the kids are old enough to remember. So let me know in the chat what you guys think. But Serena is most likely going to play US Open, which again, I think it's not bad for tennis. I think it creates a lot of excitement. There was a lot of buzz around tennis. And when she came back in Wimbledon, even people outside the sport were interested in that. It created a lot of headlines, a lot of clicks. So I think it's good for our sport, generally speaking. But again, I failed to to understand the purpose of that. I don't know. But in any case, we're going to take a little break from these topics up here and get into the chat and answer some questions, okay? Remember, guys, this is a Q&A. It's not just me like talking about the topics on the board. It's a Q&A. You guys can ask me whatever you want. And we're going to go from there, okay, guys? Let me see. Can Berrettini be that man again? I think he can. Listen, when you make the quarters of Roland Garros, you are the man. But he can be competitive on tour. It's just a question whether he can stay healthy, you know? Because he even hurt himself there, and then he came back for Wimbledon. He played pretty well against Dimitrov in that match. I thought Berrettini was good. He couldn't play any tournaments prior to that match, so that was kind of a bummer. So it's just a question whether Berrettini can stay healthy, but he still has the level, especially on grass. I mean, the guy has such incredible feel, and he's got so much power in his game, so much versatility. He's very dangerous on grass, also on clay. He's not bad on hard court. He can play on hard court too. So hopefully Berrettini will stay healthy and play a whole year, because now he's got a good ranking. He's going to keep that ranking for a whole year. He's got the quarterfinal points from Roland Garros, so he'll be top 60, top 70 the whole year, and he can play a lot of tournaments. And hopefully get his ranking up, because we want to see Berrettini. We want to see Berrettini. Oh, yeah, of course you can ask outside the board. What are your thoughts on Maja Chwalinska going into the hardcore season? Well, that's a great question. You know, Maja Chwalinska is an interesting subject, because Maja was a clay court specialist. And Chwalinska said after he lost to her at Roland Garros, let's see how she does on hard court, because she only plays on clay, something to that extent. And then that led me to like look into it, and I look back, and it's somewhat true. It's not 100% true, but it's somewhat true that most of the tournaments that Chwalinska has played were clay court tournaments, and that's where her game is the most dangerous, for sure. I think grass would have been good for Maja, but I think her game, the way she plays, is clay, because there she's going to have more chances to play defense and keep that ball going. I think on a hard court, especially a fast one, it's going to be tougher to utilize that style. But certainly she can make life difficult on the WTA Tour, because when somebody has a different style, for example, Tatiana Maria, she just won the Newport ITF tournament, which is now a men's and women's like 125K. And she won the whole thing with score lines of not a single set going to 5 games. Like, she destroyed everyone. She beat volley nets in the final. She absolutely destroyed everyone, Tatiana Maria. So I think Chwalinska is similar to that. She has such a quirky style, and she's going to make life difficult for the opponent. And that's true on any surface, but I think to a lesser extent on hard court. So we will see how she does. What was the highest quality match at Wimbledon 2026? Probably the final. Zverev Sinner. Probably the final. I just think Novak in the semis wasn't anywhere near his best. So Zverev played really well in the first 2 sets especially. So I would say the final, even though, like I said yesterday in my wrap-up video, or my day 14 analysis, Sinner wasn't anywhere near his top level, except some small portions in the second and third and fourth set. So I think Sinner could have played better, but I think the overall level of play was the best in the final. But I'm not necessarily saying that it was that great of a match, like a classic match that we're going to look back on. It was a good match, but it was dominated by the serve, and both guys were playing aggressive. So yeah, I don't know. Um, just level wise, I think that's where both guys peaked. Maybe Yannick played a little bit better in the semis against Djokovic, but I think Zverev played better than Djokovic in the final. He was bringing the heat more, and Novak did not catch a good day. So there's a jumping forehand where they twist their body in midair, usually lifting one knee, a thing young players do. I don't remember this from the Borg days, although Novak is doing it too. What is a jumping forehand? Like, you talking about an actual jumping forehand? Because that's very rare. You don't see that. But one leg going up into the air, that's just a thing that happens. It's a shift of body weight. Happens to everyone. It doesn't happen in a closed stance forehand. It happens in a semi-open stance forehand, or in an open stance forehand when that weight shifts a little bit more towards the hitting side. Is that off leg, the left leg on right-handed players goes up into the air. It happens very frequently. Doesn't happen every time. We can't really get into it now with me sitting here. I would have to show you on the court. And there's another forehand where the body gets airborne. So that's not a jumping forehand. Jumping forehand is the players intentionally jump and hit the ball in the air. That's very rare. Just like a Nick Kyrgios shot. And certainly you could see some of that even back in the day in a wooden racket era. Of course, not to the same extent as you see it now, because there's more acceleration now, there's more power now. Do you think Sinner will go for the 9 Masters titles in a year record? That's a great question. Somebody asked that in my video. That's a great question. I mean, obviously, I have no idea. That would be really cool if he could do it. But it would also make sense to skip Montreal. Or what is it today, this year? Is it Montreal? Yeah, to skip the Montreal Masters. Because out of all the Masters 1000, I think the one that makes the most sense to skip is the Montreal Masters for Sinner and Alcaraz if they're going to find themselves in a Wimbledon final. Now, Sinner didn't play anything until Wimbledon, so it's a little bit different this year. And he was also out early at Roland Garros in the first week. So he's had a month prior to Wimbledon, right? Yeah, 1 month prior to Wimbledon. And maybe he takes some time off again, but because he had that 1 month off prior to Wimbledon, I think he might actually play Canada and maybe pull out next year out of Canada, because they both, Sinner and Alcaraz, pulled out last year. So it makes a lot of sense for me to skip after a very grueling and long Europe stretch, clay court season, grass court season, to take a little bit extra time off and go on vacation in the summer. So for me, it makes most sense to skip the Canada Masters, as brutal as that is for the Canada Masters. But again, this year, I think he might play. And if he does play, certainly he's going to be the huge favorite to win every single remaining Masters 1000 tournament. The tricky one probably going to be Shanghai, although he's won that one before too. It'd be Djokovic in the final. Because that one's going to be, if he plays both Montreal, Cincinnati, US Open, if he goes on a rampage there. I don't know. I mean, listen, Sinner is human. I don't know how long he can maintain these runs. There's got to be some dip here and there. Will he be undefeated for the rest of the year? I don't know. He could. Go on another indoor rampage. But I just got a feeling that one might be, like, he might want to skip that one too, actually. And just kind of save himself for the indoor season, which is very important because he's got the ATP Finals in Italy, which is super important for Yannick. So I don't know if he goes for it. I don't know if he really cares about that record. It certainly is something that would be unbelievable if he can do it, meaning that he's won Indian Wells, Miami, Monte Carlo, Madrid, Rome, Canada Masters, Cincinnati, Shanghai, and Paris. So he needs 4 more, right? Paris, Shanghai, Cincinnati, Toronto. He needs 4 more. He needs 4. He won 5 already this year. Can you imagine? 5 Masters already this year. So he needs 4 more. It would be an unbelievable record, and not even Novak has done that. So he could do it. But is it worth it? I don't know. We shall see, guys. I have no idea. We're going to see. Honestly, I don't think Novak will get to 25, and I think based on conferences, he's tired of it. He's tired of hearing it for sure. And who cares if he gets to 25 or not? And he probably won't get to 25. I don't see it. I don't see it happening. The best chance was this year at Australian Open and Roland Garros. And somehow it didn't happen at Roland Garros. You know, he lost to a very, very good Fonseca. But it would have been interesting to see him play Zverev in the semis there if he could have. So that was a huge opportunity. Will that opportunity present itself again? I doubt it. Don't think so. It's like a one-time thing that'll happen. Or maybe it'll happen again a couple of years from now. Maybe a couple more times it'll happen. But it's unlikely to happen again. We don't have Sinner or Alcaraz. If they either pull out or one of them loses early, that won't happen again. I don't think this year at US Open. We'll discuss Alcaraz in another video, but I don't see it happening. So he'll probably have to beat Sinner to win the tournament. And yeah, I just don't see that happening. So he probably won't get 25, but it would, like I said, who cares? Who cares if he does or not? As a Sinner Maniac is in the house. Hey, how's it going? Oh, yeah. Okay, I know that guy that asked that question. You know what, though? That guy sometimes asks good questions. With Baldo. I recognize his voice. I don't know who he is. I've never seen his face, but I think he asks good questions. Sometimes he seems like a charismatic guy. Like sometimes players respond to him well. They could laugh. Seems like he's a charismatic person, but you know, to say Novak seems to be more competitive this year than last year, I guess he's referring to the fact that he's made a final or whatever. But it's just I don't know. Why would you ask that? Makes no sense, that question. Like, I don't think Novak is more competitive this year than last year because he made 4 semis. So that question was very, very poor, and I'm not surprised at the reaction from Novak. Which was your favorite best match of Wimbledon 2026? That's tough. I would say the women's final. I'll be honest. That one like caused the most emotions in me, like nail biting, nerve wracking. To me, that was the most memorable match of this year's Wimbledon tournament, the Noskova Muchova final. Don't think I've ever seen anything like it. Like that game at what was that game? At 5-3, so 6-2, 5-3, Noskova serving. She had that match point double faulted, and then on 4 consecutive break points of Muchova, she served an ace. And still couldn't serve it out. She had another match point at 5-4. Muchova was so clutch on that one. He had a big serve and an inside-in forehand, reverse finish. And then in the 5-2 game, Noskova had 3 match points, so overall 5. And she loses that set, but then gets off the court, stares at the trophy, and says, I'm getting that thing. Comes back in the third and wins. It's what makes tennis beautiful. It's like I was so sure she was going to lose, but she didn't. So to me, that match stands out as the best match. And I'm going to tell you, the one behind that was the Coco Gauff Muchova semifinal. With that match point of Gauff, I thought that was a very entertaining match. Those two go ahead of any men's match by far, because I'll remember those two forever. I might forget about some of the men's matches. You know what I mean? Like those are going to be etched in my memory for a very long time. Gauff Muchova and Noskova Muchova. So the top two. If I'm going to put three, I would say FA Djokovic is third. So those would be the top three. Let's see what else you guys are writing in here. Okay. Cinemaniac says there's nothing wrong with the question. There's nothing wrong with asking. You seem more competitive this year than last year when it's like when it makes no sense. When it's like it's not factually accurate. You think it's a good question? Let's see what else you guys are writing in here before we move on to the next question, guys. Keydon says, "Happy new haircut." Thank you, Keydon. I appreciate you, man. Simone, you want the windows open? Come on, the shades open. There you go, bud. Let's see. Haha says, "Meanwhile, Rublev never makes semis, and Djokovic doing it at almost 40." I mean, think about that, yeah. Or Alex de Minaur never made a semi at a Grand Slam, and Djokovic is just like he doesn't play anything before, doesn't play any lead-up tournaments. He's almost 40, and he's making semifinals at Grand Slams. That's how good Novak is. It's really, again, looking back at his career, forget winning everything twice and winning the Olympics and breaking all the records. I think what he's doing at like 38, 39 years old is just as impressive to me. I'll be honest. It's incredible. Okay, hi Nick. Do you think Sinner is going to win U.S. Open? Maybe that will be a good lead into the next uh, topic on the board, which says third seed. Guys, third seed. You see this? It says third seed. Do you know what I'm talking about? Third seed? It's a disaster. It's something that I hate so much. The third seed. You guys know what I'm talking about? Well, I'm talking about the fact that Zverev now is number 2 in the world. And Alcaraz is going to be the third seed if he plays Cincinnati, if he plays the U.S. Open. And I will dedicate a video to Alcaraz for in a couple of days. But Alcaraz is now 3 in the world, guys. And you know what that means? It means that potentially Sincaraz will be in the semifinal. And there's nothing more frustrating than that. I hate that so much. I hate it just as much as I hated Nadal and Djokovic meeting in the semis. It's a bummer. Now look, Zverev's been the second best player this year because Alcaraz has missed some very important time and Zverev's been there, won a slam, another final of a slam, semifinal of a slam, reached semifinals everywhere else with the exception of Acapulco. Simone, what is going on, man? Where are you going? Please, please, here, go through here. Go through here. Come on. Don't step on the keyboard. Please, please. I don't know what I was saying. See, I forgot now. Oh, Zverev. Semifinals everywhere except Acapulco, where he lost to the Ketsman, I think. If I got that right. And he deserves to be number 2, no doubt about it. But is he better than Alcaraz? Well, some people have talked about that. And even Zverev said something in the post-match press conference. You know, it's so funny how in the tennis world, people are quick to write off someone when that player is not there competing. And it's so unfair to put Zverev on the same level as Alcaraz. It's really unfair. Certainly when Alcaraz comes back, he's going to be rusty. He might not even go deep in tournaments. Who knows? Or maybe he'll pick up where he left off. We don't know. We shall see. We don't know how he's going to react to this injury. Will he be careful? Will this have maybe a very bad impact on his game? And again, we're going to discuss Alcaraz in a separate video. But if you want to compare the career of a Zverev and an Alcaraz, there's absolutely no comparison. And to me, we saw level discrepancies between Sinner and Zverev in many matches. Not so much in this match yesterday. I thought Zverev has improved. He's played some of the best tennis that I've ever seen him play. Hitting forehands harder than he's ever hit him before. Serving more aggressive. So he's stepped up his game. He's playing better than ever before. And that was a difficult match for Yannick. But prior to that, Yannick was dominating Zverev, like 2-1 in Madrid, 1-4 in Monte Carlo. Then he got him in Miami, Indian Wells, ATP Finals, Paris, Masters, Vienna, although there was 7-5 in the third. So Sinner got him, and many times it was a big level discrepancy, you know? So Zverev improved his game for sure, big time. But although Zverev plays Alcaraz better than he plays Sinner, for sure. Zverev went into a 5-setter with Alcaraz in 24 at Roland Garros, and also this year at the Australian Open. He certainly plays Alcaraz better. It's a little bit different matchup, but still, you know, there's a discrepancy between Sinner and Alcaraz and everyone else. And the rankings, they show that. And Zverev was able to get the Grand Slam in Alcaraz's absence because, look, Alcaraz is an incredible clay court player. So I think the fact that Alcaraz is ranked third is a bummer for me because he's for sure at the level of Sinner. Now, again, injuries are tough. And it's my hope that Alcaraz can pick up where he left off, and we get back to this incredible rivalry between these two guys. But now it's going to get super interesting because maybe Zverev, with this improved game of his, can make it a new big three. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Zverev now can be in the mix if he continues playing like this. Because again, he gave Sinner a tough time in that final. He's improved. And if Alcaraz can get back to the level where he once was prior to the injury, it's going to be interesting between those three guys because Zverev is still young. He can do this for many more years. And he's a hard worker. He might get even better than he already is. And the tour might get super interesting. We still have Djokovic in the mix, who's highly capable of going deep. Got those four guys. Now, what happens behind it, you know, this is what's just a bummer with the third seed because if Alcaraz as a third seed ends up on top with Sinner, that's a bummer. Why? Because it's going to make the bottom half of the slam super, super weak. Because no offense to the guys behind, but, you know, Alex de Minaur is ranked number 5 in the world right now. And you know how much I respect Alex. I made several videos with big segments dedicated to Alex. I'm one of his biggest supporters, but he's ranked 5 in the world. He's never been to a semifinal of a Grand Slam. And there's a skill discrepancy between Alex and the top guys. And so the guy that's on the bottom, you know, this 2 seed, if the 3rd seed is on top, they're going to get it's going to be an unbalanced draw. And the bottom half will be weaker. And I think Zverev, if this ranking stays, if Alcaraz loses all these points, I think Zverev will be in many more Grand Slam finals. I think he will. And for Alcaraz, it might be tough to go through Sinner in the semis. So this is certainly going to be a big road back for Alcaraz. He's going to have to fight really hard. I don't think it's going to be as simple. I wish it's going to be simple for him, but I don't think it will, because you can't just be off the tour and expect to return where you left off. It doesn't work that way, because everybody else, while you're off, they're playing, they're collecting confidence, they're winning matches, and you're not. And it's brutal. It's not, injuries are a tough part of our sport. So again, I am going to dedicate a video to Alcaraz and talk a little bit more in detail about his injury and what I think will happen with Alcaraz for the rest of this year. So look out for that in a couple of days on the Intuitive Tennis YouTube channel. So that was the third seed. It's a big bummer that Alcaraz will be semifinals, for me anyway. Maybe some of you guys like that. I don't know. Darren Bavik, are you looking at this at all? What are you talking about? Looking at what? Looking at the questions? Yeah, I am. But I'm also covering the board, and I'm busy answering questions. And while I'm answering a question, I'm not looking at it. I can't do two things at once. Forever 25 is in the house. How you doing? Can you talk about Shelton and Fritz? I mean, Taylor, I had him going in the final of Wimbledon, but he couldn't play against Zverev because he was injured. He felt something in his knee. And to be fair to Zverev, I don't know if Taylor would have won that match, even if the knee was okay. Simone, please. Simone is tearing up a Whole Foods bag over there. I don't know if Fritz would have beaten Zverev, because Zverev was very impressive in this tournament. But generally, Fritz very dangerous on grass. I think he's the number one American when it comes to like Grand Slam tournaments. Taylor's been there, done that. And right behind him, very close to him, I'll put Shelton. And then a little bit behind Shelton, Fritz is TFO. And then Tommy Paul. So those four guys are very strong. Shelton has been very disappointing this year at the biggest tournaments. And he's been very, very strong at some of the smaller tournaments. Like the way he played in Stuttgart was very impressive. Won that thing. Beat Fritz in the final. The way he played in Munich was very, very impressive. Beat Koboli. That was an ATP 500 on clay. In Europe, super impressive. He beat Fritz in Dallas as a 500. So those are impressive wins, but some really head-scratching results at some other tournaments. A lot of first-round exits and just losing to guys that he normally doesn't lose to. So I don't really know what to make of that. I mean, I don't think the weaknesses have been improved in the Shelton game, which is the return of serve, the backhand. I don't see much difference there. It's been kind of like it's always been. And he sometimes gets dragged into grinding, rallying, baseline exchanges. And there's a lot of guys that can hang with Shelton from the baseline. But there are not a lot of guys that can hang with Shelton when he's playing aggressive tennis, like Zverev did in the final against Sinner. Shelton can do the same thing. Maybe even more powerful than Zverev. He can serve 140 something. That's how Shelton needs to play. He needs to take the racket out of the other guy's hand and stop with the variety, stop with the grinding behind the baseline. That's how I envision Shelton's game. But unfortunately, he doesn't play like that, or hasn't played enough like that. So yeah, that's my viewpoint on Shelton and Fritz. And Fritz has got to get healthy. I think once Fritz gets 100% healthy with his knee, then he can go get closer to the top 5, All right, let's see here, guys. What else are you guys asking over here? Let's see, guys. Let's see. RP Hulk, do you really think Sinner has a serious problem with the heat? He won 2 Australian Open, 1 US Open in hot conditions, and this year won 5 Sunshine Swing tournaments, and they were also hot conditions. Well, RP Hulk, he must have missed me talking about this probably 10 different times. I've talked about this a lot. I'm not going to talk about it now because it's boring. I've talked about it enough. But no, yeah, Sinner certainly has had some issues in the heat, but no. He's one of the best heat players on the planet based on his results. And it was hot in Wimbledon here, and Sinner were just fine. So, yeah, certainly sometimes a handful of times, maybe less than a handful, 4 times. There's been issues in the heat, cramping and stuff like that, and certainly that's something that needs to be addressed, and I think they did address it. Although what happened at Roland Garros was not heat related necessarily. There was more something else. But again, I talked about this enough. I even dedicated a whole video to this prior to Wimbledon when Sinner was playing with an ice vest. So I'm not going to talk about it again. It's too much. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. The Sinner does not have that serious of a problem with the heat if he's able to win so many matches in the heat. Haha, KV says there's no reason to end the career when he's at 39 still go semifinal. Yeah. True. Very true. Let's see here. You were happy with Zverev's first serve against Sinner. Gil Gross mentions Zverev should have gone from one returnable serves. Have first serve percentage go from 70 to 60. Yeah, I said that. I said that in my match preview. I said exactly that. And he did execute that to a certain extent in this match. He was serving better. He was able to hold serve in the 2 sets. During the match, as I was live streaming, I was on this board like showing where the serves were landing, and it was for sure a different placement for Zverev. And he didn't drop this percentage that much. But yeah, that's something that I discussed many times with Zverev against Sinner. It's not just here. It was before many other matches that played. I outlined what I think the right tactics are for Zverev against Sinner. I do think there was a good attempt by Zverev in Indian Wells, actually, even though he played horrible that day. But the tactics were correct in that match, at least in the first set. And I've discussed this many times, yes. Let's see here. What are your expectations for Alcaraz, Musetti, and Draper when they return? It's so tough with Draper because it's like he starts and then he's stop again and start and stop. He can't ever get on a roll. So I think it's like just the consistency is important, that he can stay out there for a whole year. And same with Musetti to some extent as well. Although I think Lorenzo plays injured more than Draper. But yeah, he's been having a hard time. Those two guys have been just dealing with so many injuries, and it's just terrible. So it's hard to make any expectations on them, especially now for Musetti. It doesn't like this part of the year generally. Although he did play well indoors in some tournaments last year. So I don't know. We have to see. I hope they play and they can keep playing and stay healthy, those guys. Let's see here, guys, what we got over here. What are your expectations for Alex Eala moving forward? I think top 20 should be the next goal. That's a realistic goal for Alex. I think she can get there. She's already kind of close to that. She's top 30. So that should be the next goal. And just keep working, keep improving that serve, keep getting better, keep getting stronger, keep getting faster, keep grinding out there. Keep winning matches and just go one step at a time. But I think top 20 is going to be a good goal for her. And I think she can do it. Oh, that's a good question. Do you see Medvedev having a chance to make a deep run at US Open and get back to slam winning form this year? Yeah, I think Medvedev has had a great year. He's had a fantastic year. He's played some great tennis. Remember Indian Wells, how good Medvedev was in the Indian Wells? He made the final and got Yannick to 2 tiebreaks. It was 7-6, 7-6 Sinner. Medvedev played well. in Indian Wells, and also won, 3 tournaments this year? Was it 3? I don't know. I have to look it up. But yeah, 2 or 3 tournaments he won this year. I think 3. So I think he picks up where he left off prior to the clay season starting, because the clay season started with him losing 0-0. And then he, despite the 0-0 to Berrettini at Monte Carlo, he had that incredible Rome semifinal match against Sinner where he pushed Sinner to the limit on clay. So this guy Medvedev is just one of the greatest guys to watch on tour. He's a tactical genius. He's a master tactician. And I think he didn't play that well on grass. But I think once we get on the hard courts, he'd probably play Washington. He played that last year. I think he lost to Muchova last year. And he had the disaster at the US Open. But quite frankly, I think that turned his career around, because he had a rough, with the exception of the Halle tournament, he had a rough 2025 season. And then after US Open, he changed his coaching staff. And I think he just fired Thomas Johansson. I just read that. So he's probably going to have a new coach. But after the US Open, I think Medvedev turned his career around and had some great indoor results. Won a tournament, a 250. So I expect Medvedev to be very, very dangerous on hard court. Even at, of course, at Washington, then the 2 Masters, and then US Open. He's going to be dangerous. He can go deep, really deep. And he can be dangerous for Jannik too. And of course, he's going to be dangerous to Zverev and maybe even for Alcaraz. Like, he can still trouble those guys. He's proven it. So, yeah. Let's see a couple more questions here, guys. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's see here, guys. What's going on over here? Okay, maybe you have missed my question in the C, but I want to ask you if you could explain the mechanics technique that has made the Sinner serve nearly unbreakable. I've covered this Sinner serve in great detail. I've done 3 videos on the Sinner serve, and it's a somewhat unorthodox rhythm. It's a very intricate technique. There's a lot of interesting technical details in the rhythm portion of it. It's somewhat similar to the Zverev serve, where there's a slight early unload, and there's quite a unique segmentation on the serve that you don't see that often. But I think, to me, the one thing that I'm seeing now is that the rhythm has improved. The rhythm looks more continuous, looks more flowing. It's just that the new technique that he's picked up, going from, he was first at pinpoint, and it was more of a classic style, let's say, something that you see from other players, and then it turned into this, what he has now, somewhat. And then he went to a platform stance, and then he went back to the pinpoint stance, and the serve has evolved even since then, to some extent, and it now is looking the best it's ever looked. It looks really good to me now. And I didn't really like the way it looked maybe like 2024 Australian Open. It was already the same type of serve, but I didn't really like the way it looked there. And I had big worries for Jannik in the hard court swing prior to last year's US Open. Like, he served okay in Wimbledon. He won Wimbledon. He served okay there. I don't think it was as good as this year, but in Cincinnati, he had that one match with Atman, I think, and then Jannik went to practice his serve at night in Cincinnati at like 10 o'clock. So he had serve problems last year in Cincinnati, and then it was for that reason that I picked Alcaraz to win US Open, which he ended up doing. And the serve was a disaster for Jannik in that final of the US Open. But since then, he's made some slight adjustments to his rhythm. I made videos on that. I'm not going to get into it now. But it's just a continued effort to improve it, to maximize it. The big problem has been the first serve percentage, and that's not a problem anymore. I think it's stabilized quite a bit. I don't think is immune from it dropping. Like, it can still happen. It might happen, but it's a lot more stable than it has been. And look, when you work on something a lot, you reap the rewards. You get better at it. The movement becomes more ingrained. You can execute the movement not only faster, but also more accurately over and over and over again. That adds consistency to the motion, and you get more consistency in your deliveries in return. And I think that's what we're seeing with Yannick. There's no huge changes or anything like that. Small little things here and there, but it's just the work. It's the work that he's been putting in, and he's reaping the rewards for that work. Yannick is a hard worker. So there's nothing about his technique other than that intricate rhythm there and some of the other intricacies that is necessarily responsible for him. It's hard to explain. It's not that it's the technique itself that it's responsible for him having the best hold game. I think it goes way deeper than that. It's because he's Yannick Sinner, and he's just so incredibly good at a lot of different shots. It's not only the serve, it's the return of serve, it's the forehand, it's the backhand. It's just Yannick Sinner. His body is so explosive. He's such an incredible athlete. He can accelerate so fast. He has a whip-like acceleration on all his strokes, including his serve. That's basically what it is. It's Sinner doing that motion, because you give that motion to another player, you don't get the same results. So it's Sinner. And that whole package together combined, it results in him having a lethal hold game. Because like Novak said, first serve, when it comes back, there's not much you can do other than like just react to it, block it, chip it, punt it. And then the next ball after that is a brutal ground stroke, either a forehand or a backhand, brutal. And you're just always on the back foot, you're always defending, and it's tough to survive in those service games of Yannick. That's what Novak said. And Novak said that the second serve, it goes deep in the box, it's very lively, and it's quite fast, and it goes quite high. And it's gotten a lot better over the years, the second serve. And it's lively, it's got a lot of kick on it. And it's got a pretty good speed on it. So, yeah, it's tough. It's tough against Yannick. I mean, I'm not surprised that he's pretty much holding against against anyone he faces. He's got a good chance of holding through the entirety of the match. Let's take a look here at some other questions. Let's see here what we got, guys. Whoops. Oh, here it is. I found it. I lost that question before. Can you give us your thoughts on players like Svida, Ferry, Mochizuki, Bellucci? Lots of people say it's impossible to be pro under 6 feet, but these guys are all top 100 and they're around 5'9", and a few of them. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you bring that up, because there's a thing going on at the junior circuit where, coaches or parents between each other are saying that you got to be tall if you want to make it on tour. You got to be for a guy, you got to be 6'4" or whatever. And for female player, you got to be like close to 6 foot or something. It's just the most ridiculous thing. It's so lazy. it's nonsense, and that the tennis is getting so tall, and it's just going to be tall players now. Complete nonsense. And I'm glad that Ferry is doing so well. They did so well in this Wimbledon. Also Mochizuki, both guys are 5'9". Ferry made the semis. Mochizuki made the fourth round. I don't know actually how tall Svajda is, but he's been playing so well this year. He had a really good match against Koboli in the fourth round of the Roland Garros, if I remember correctly. So look, there's no height requirement in tennis. So like if you're a guy and you're 5'9", or even maybe even a little bit shorter, you can still be a professional tennis player ranked top 100. Now, is there an optimal height? Yes. If you want to be like top 10, top 5, top 3, now we're talking about like having optimized games because it's the best of the best. So like it's probably not going to be someone that's 5'9", unlikely. Probably going to be guys like that you're seeing that have a height between Alcaraz and between Sinner, in that range, because this where the optimal height lies. But again, this doesn't mean that if you're shorter on the men's side that you can't make it, or even on the female side, if you're closer to 5 foot, you can still make it in the top 100 and be a professional player. So it's really nice to see that. I'm always going to point that out, because again, if there are tennis players out there training and they hear, oh, you have to be tall to be good in tennis, like that's a horrible thing. They might actually they might actually think that they can't make it, and they might quit playing tennis. So what is that? Like, that's why I always point out examples. There's a lot of players that are a little bit shorter. There are players that are even taller than the optimal height, and all kinds of evens out. The shorter players have some advantages that super tall players lack, and vice versa. And at the end of the day, it kind of evens out. So no height requirement in tennis. You just got to work your butt off, get better, and you're going to do good. You're going to do good. But again, this is prevalent at the junior circuit. All these tales that, no, you have no chance unless you're a certain height. Nonsense. Complete nonsense. Give me a break. Unless we're talking about, being number one in the world, but what kind of goal setting is that? We're talking about making it to like D1 college, or potentially playing on tour as your goal. So no height requirement in either those two, neither one of those two, right? So let's see what else is going on in the chat, guys, before we go on to the next topic. Thank you, Forever25. Thank you for clicking on the live stream. I appreciate you. Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. I actually was going to talk about that, but I didn't put it on the board. But Nick, what are your goals for the channel going forward in the second half of the year? Oh, that's a great question. Let me take a drink and I'll answer that, okay? Oh, man. Do you know what time I started this? You don't know? It's 8:40 now. Hold on. What we got here? I have no idea. All right. What are the plans for the channel for the rest of the year, right? Nick, what are your goals for the channel going forward to the second half of the year? All right. So I'm glad you asked that, because I do want to talk about this. For example, now, the next 2 weeks, the ATP calendar and the WTA calendar is so messed up right now, because I'm going to read you the tournaments that are going on. It's like they, first of all, moved it around. The UMAG is like going on now. It used to be the week before the US Open, UMAG. And UMAG is already happening now. And UMAG is happening at the same time as Gstaad, I think, and Bastad, which is weird. And then Estoril is back. And that's happening at the same time as Kitzbühel. So they got the 5 tournaments on clay in Europe all happening like in 2 weeks. But let me confirm that 100%. I'll tell you exactly. Oh, here we go. 2026 calendar. Okay, so we got July here. Let's take a look here. We're going to flip this like this. Oh yes. Okay. So yes. So we got Gstaad, Bastad, and Umag, and then next year is Kitzbühel. Next week is Kitzbühel and Estoril, and then it's like Washington D.C., Los Cabos, then it's Montreal, Cincinnati, Winston-Salem, U.S. Open. So what that means, guys, is that for example, the next 2 weeks, I don't know if I'm going to be live streaming or doing Monday morning tennis rants. I don't know. Probably not. Maybe if there's something great, interesting happening, but probably not. So it'll be other type of content. It'll be I do plan to make a video about Alcaraz in a couple of days, but it'll be like just instructional content. I'm doing a session with Shamir. Wednesday, I did a session with Emma Burgic before she left for an intense match. That's the new tennis league, and that's going to be. I'm going to turn that into a video. I'm meeting Carla tomorrow. I'm going to turn that into a video. I got a lot of videos with me solo talking technique, so it's going to be those type of videos. You know, I do plan to make a lot of match play videos, but for sure, I'm going to make December the match month on intuitive tennis. That's the off season. That's where I'm going to feature a lot of matches like I did last year. But there are going to be other matches too prior to that. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to cover some of Washington, D.C. I'm going to cover a lot of the ATP 1000s. I'll cover U.S. Open the same way I covered Wimbledon every day and plus live streams. I'll cover all the Masters 1000. A lot of the WTA 1000 for the rest of the year, and then we'll end everything at ATP Finals with live streams, with wrap-up videos, with analysis and all that. So I plan to do it like I did last year, cover a lot and keep going. And then again, like I said, December will be match month, and then we'll start all over again in January at the Australian Open. And I plan to keep doing that as long as I can. That's been the plan for the last 3 years. I don't think my content has changed much since then. I've been doing this for a while now this way. Since 2023, yeah. That's why I started doing more professional tennis coverage, match analysis and all that. So it's been 3 years, and I plan to keep going. Now, the addition has been this year live streams. I've never done that before. I mean, I've done live streams a lot on my channel, but never watch along live streams where I'm like talking about the match, commentating on a match. So that is new, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. And I do plan to keep doing that and keep optimizing that and add new things to it. So that's going to be something that I'm going to keep doing also, you know. So yeah, that's that. Let's see what else you guys are saying here. Let's see, guys. Can Iga make a comeback? You know what? That's funny you bring that up because I was saying yes all the time. I thought, okay, Iga's going to flip it. Iga's going to flip it. Iga's going to turn into old Iga. Iga's going to turn into old Iga because there has been some glimpses of old Iga, but then she disappears again. So I'm not sure, actually. No, I'm not sure. There's been some problematic losses, I'll be honest. So I don't know if and when old Iga will come back. I'm not so sure like I was, because last year it kind of turned out to be true because she won Wimbledon and she was struggling before that. So I was like, she's back. Old Iga is back. And I thought she was just going to keep going and not, she's going to stay consistent and keep racking up big titles, but it didn't happen. And now she's like far away from big titles. So it's very interesting what's happening, and I don't really know if she's going to be able to flip it around. Let's see. I hope that she can, because I'm a big Iga supporter. I think she has the great chance to become the greatest female clay court player in the history. So let's see. Do you have a plan for not having to hold the mic? Camille, that's a fantastic question. I'm glad you asked. I have no plan. I'm going to continue to hold the mic forever. I'm going to continue to hold the mic. There's no plans on that, guys. It is what it is. Unless I'm doing a live stream, that's where I clip the mic because I gotta use my hands to do all check statistics and all that. But if I'm doing live stream, I hold the mic. LT wants old Iga back. I don't. Listen. I don't know. She can come back and win U.S. Open. I don't know. It's just that she makes so many mistakes now that she didn't before, and it looks like hectic out there. She's not calm. You know, that match against Eala. I mean, I don't think Iga played that bad necessarily in the first set, but in the clutch moments, like she wasn't there. You know, and she was panicking a little bit, rushing a little bit. In the second set, I didn't think was great from Iga. So the second, the Pliskova match was pretty straightforward, but the first match against Townsend wasn't great either, to be honest, from Iga. So yeah, I don't know. Let's hope that she can find her top level again. Thank you, Camille. Thank you. I appreciate you. I was just messing with you with the mic. You want to know the truth why I hold it? Because the audio is way better when I hold it. If I put it here like this, you see the audio is not as good. You hear the audio? Because I have a low voice, and my voice is not that strong. And for that reason, I like it here. And trust me, it's not like I have how many? I don't know, probably like 6, 7 different microphones. I have those like podcast style mics. I have everything. I have all the equipment, but this is the best audio that I can get. It's like holding the mic like this. And when I get a chance, I hold it. But most of the time, I don't have a chance. When I'm on the court, I can't hold the mic. I have to use my hands, obviously. And when I'm doing live streaming, watch along, I can't hold the mic either because I'm like I said, I'm using my hands. But then like the analysis videos, I'm just talking to the camera, and there I prefer to hold the mic like this. And I get comments a lot like, why you holding the mic and all that, but I don't care. I want the audio to be good because sometimes people, they don't watch me. They watch me passively, right? They listen to it. So I think the audio is very important, that it sounds decent, Darren Bavik, can you see me in the room? I've asked at least 6 questions and so far nothing. No, I don't see you in the room, man. I just see you for the first time. What did you ask? Darren, you said? Darren? Let me see. Maybe I'll find one of your questions. I'll answer it, Darren, okay? Darren. Didn't see you at all. Darren. Oh, there it is. Who do you think should have won a slam by now, man or woman? What does that mean? Oh, I get what you mean. Like, who is the player that should have already won a slam but doesn't have one yet? I don't know one on the men. There's not a single player. Let's see on the woman. I'm not gonna say Muchova because I think there are problems in the Muchova game. I mean, she gets a lot of praise that she very well deserves, but I don't know. I feel that there are some holes in her game actually that's probably holding her back a little bit from winning a slam. But she's very close and she might win one. That's how good she is. But I think the backhand they can break down on Muchova, and that's how Coco breaks that backhand down when she plays her. Who else? Let's see. Oh yeah, I have one actually. Pegula. I think Pegula should have a slam, and I hope she gets one before she retires. So I think Pegula. Yeah, Pegula. But on the men's side, no, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, because there's such a skill discrepancy between Sinner, Alcaraz, Zverev, Djokovic, and everybody else. Nobody else should have a slam. I don't think so. But Pegula, yeah. Pegula is a underrated player. I think she's amazing. Pegula, one of the best ball strikers on tour, for sure. Okay, so there you go. I answered a question, Darren Bivik. I'm trying to find, because the chat keeps going to the bottom, but I'm scrolling up and I'm losing my place. So let me see here. I lost my place in here. Hold on. Haha says, will be interesting if Sinner win ATP finals again without losing set 3 times in a row. That'd be something else. I'm looking forward to that. That was fun last year. The atmosphere was incredible. You guys remember that final against Alcaraz? Man, that atmosphere was insane. Insane. That was so much fun. So we get to see that at the end of the year. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, I think you can tick the point. Oh yeah, Adam, that's a great idea, man. That's a great idea to just cross that off. I normally do that, but I didn't do it today. Hold on. We're gonna cross this off. Yeah, man. That's a fantastic idea. There we go. Bam. I gotta buy, what's this called? I gotta buy more of these. These are dead. See, Serena, we got the third seed. I got 2 topics left. Pretty much just one topic, but the last thing is a plug. We got 1 topic left, but this is a very, very important one. It says, I'm scared. I'm so scared, guys. I'm very scared. So we'll talk about that later. Let me address a couple more things in the chat. Let's see here. Let's see here, guys. Let's see here, guys. No intuitive means no Simone. I'm not okay with that. Says Babolat Shamir. Simone left. I don't know where he is. He left. He was like taking care of that Whole Foods bag over there, ripping holes into it, and then disappeared after that. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Oh, that's a great question, David Goldberg. Do you think center forehand will be better in hardcourt swing? Okay, that's a fantastic question. Let me get into that. Here's the deal. Look, Jannik Sinner just won Wimbledon. That's amazing, and he's the best player in the world. He's number 1. But the scary thing about Sinner is that, as good as that was what he did in Wimbledon, he can play even better. 100%. And we discussed this after Sinner won Miami, because a lot of you had noticed that Sinner was making more mistakes from the baseline. And you were asking me whether I think it's true. And at first I said, I don't know, maybe not. But then at the end of the tournament, I was like, yeah, you know what? I think yes. I think Sinner is probably making more mistakes than he normally makes. I don't think the baseline game is as dialed in as it was like during the indoor rampage, for example, right? But he still won, right? Both Indian Wells and Miami. So I'm just comparing Jannik to himself, to his top level, you know? And I don't think it was his top level in Indian Wells or Miami. Maybe not. I'm not saying like every single match, every single time. Like there were some moments in matches, like he's unbelievably clutch, so he'll find everything what he needs in the most important stages. Like that's true, but just there were some like matches that where he didn't play that great. There were more unforced errors than normal. I don't think we saw anything like that against Zverev in Madrid. I think that was Sinner's best match all year. And I think second best match was maybe semifinal Wimbledon Djokovic. So those 2 matches, Sinner was very clean. But I don't think Sinner was anywhere near his best in Rome. Don't think Sinner was. I think Monte Carlo was pretty strong, but it was windy in that final against Alcaraz. So look, I'm being super critical, but this is the scary thing. I think Sinner can play better. And like you said, David, like when the mistakes come, it's been more the forehand that's been misfiring. I do think Sinner raised his level from the baseline at Wimbledon. He was hitting the ground strokes better. But was the forehand perfect in the final against Zverev? No. I think it can be better. Like I said, a top-level center makes that forehand. Break point at 4-3 in the first set, he makes that. And a top-level center makes that forehand at 5-all in the tiebreak on the Zverev serve and serves out that first set tiebreak. So the forehand was a little bit off in this final. Like I said, it was pretty good against Djokovic in the semis. But any other match before that, it was not top level. So as good as Yannick is, I think he can be even better. And that's scary because a top-level center, he will win matches like 1-1. He'll be a brutal. That's a top-level center. He'll win a final 2-1. That's when everything clicks, everything works. You can't really expect that because that's not how tennis works. Tennis is a game of mistakes, and center is not immune from that. There'll be naturally ups and downs, but I think center is the type of guy that he realizes all this. He has a great team around him, and they continuously work on things that they can do better, and that's the scary thing. I think center can be even better than he is right now, and that's a guy that right now is so hard to break and it's hard to hold serve against him, but I think he can be even better. That's the scary thing for the rest of the tour. Okay, let's see what else is going on in the chat, guys. What else is going on in the chat? Okay, back to that question: who is like slam? Should have a slam by now? And somebody wrote Anisimova. I think her too. Anisimova for sure. Amazing ball striker, but right now far away from a slam, right? Because the level dropped a little bit on Anisimova. It's not the same as last year, so she needs to do some work to get back to the level of last year. But yeah, certainly she's someone that can for sure win a slam. Amazing player. Incredible player. Hold on a second. Kiran asked your opinion about Swiatek claiming Eala's second serve was so short and timing was weird. I don't know. I talked about this. I can't talk about that again. We've covered this in like great detail in live streams. I covered every single Eala match, and I even analyzed it afterwards. Kidan, you were there. I remember you. You heard it already. I can't go through it again. Oh, this is a great question. What do you think of Martina's idea of limiting the size of rackets moving forward? Horrendous idea. That's ridiculous. No, that's not happening. Don't mess with tennis, man. It's good. I'm having a good time watching it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm having a blast watching tennis the way it is now. I've had a problem with tennis in the 90s where it was Sampras Agassi. Sampras Ivanisevic finals. Those were boring to me. Some people enjoy it, but to me those were boring. It was like just serving and volleying. I hated the serve and volley era. I think it's nice to see a contrast when a serve and volleyer plays a baseliner, but watching serve and volleyers play against each other, and not my personal favorite, to be honest with you. I was a huge Agassi fan when I was growing up. So I love the way tennis is played now. To me, it's way more entertaining, but that's just me. So if you limit the size of the rackets, you're going to take away the quality of the strokes, the speed of the strokes. It's a horrendous idea. Maybe one of the worst things I've heard. Let's see here. What else is going on here, guys? What else is going on? Muchova is so talented. I hope she wins a Grand Slam before she retires. Yeah, she certainly gave herself a couple of deep runs. One Roland Garros final, one Wimbledon final. She's still young. She's going to keep going. She's going to have chances. She's certainly playing a great season. So U.S. Open, why not? She can go deep there. Let's see. Would Sinner winning all 9 Masters this year be more impressive than any Big Three record? Oh, I don't know about that, man. Come on. I don't know about that. What about 14 Roland Garros tournament? Like nothing will ever be more impressive than 14 Roland Garros titles. Okay, let's just put that out there. That's the most insane number ever. Most people don't play 14 Grand Slam tournaments of the same Grand Slam tournament. And to win 14 of the same Grand Slam tournament and the most tough one physically, Roland Garros, that's the most impressive thing ever. And then come all the great records of the Big Three, whether it's Nadal, whether it's Djokovic, whether it's Federer. You know, Federer had some great runs too. So all that goes in front of Sinner's 9 in a row Masters, in my opinion. But that's up there, though. If he does it, that's up there with one of the greatest things ever to be done on a tennis court, certainly. But you can't put that above anything that's accomplished at the Grand Slam level, because that goes in front of the Masters 1000 always. And this is coming from a guy who values the rest of the calendar tremendously. I've made many videos where, you know, I talked about where people shouldn't view tennis as being all about the slams, where all these other tournaments matter a lot. When people are saying, oh, Sinner has to pull out of this, he has to pull out of that, he should pull out of Madrid, pull out of Rome. And I was defending all these tournaments, so I place very big importance on them. But I'm not going to tell you that Sinner's 9 in a row Masters is somehow better than what Djokovic has done in the Grand Slams or what Federer has done at Grand Slams or Nadal. No. Let's see here. Let's see what else you guys are asking. Let's see what else you guys are asking. Hold on one second. Yeah. If you're an Agassi fan, I understand you not liking Serena Valier since there were some of the toughest matches, it seems. I'm not an Agassi fan anymore. I switched to Sampras when I was a little bit older. So I was an Agassi fan when I was a kid growing up. But then I remember I was in college actually in 2022 when, not 2022, 2002, I think, where Sampras beat Agassi in the U.S. Open final. I was cheering for Sampras. So when I played college tennis, I was more of a Sampras fan and not so much an Agassi fan. Okay, guys, I'm going to do one more here, one more question. And then we're going to move on to the next question on the board, okay? What will happen to U.S. Open draw if Zverev is now second? Well, it's going to be a disaster, and I covered that in the third seed thing right here. So you have to go back and rewind a little bit. I talked in great depth on what happens with the third seed, which is going to be Alcaraz. That means semifinal with Sinner, potentially. Not, it's a draw, the third seed, so he could end up on the bottom with Zverev too. So that's going to be a problem. All right, let's go on to the next subject on the board, which is I'm scared, guys. I'm scared. I'm so scared. And what I'm scared of is the following. If you guys have followed my journey, you know that I plan to play a lot of matches and feature a lot of them on my channel. I think those videos are great. They usually do well, especially in the engagement. They've always done well when I play matches on my channel. So I've got a big interest in miking myself up, going out there and playing, even though it's ugly, you know, but I think it's a good format and it's done well in the past. So I'm super eager to keep doing that. However, after my big racket testing series that ended in 2025 early. I planned, that was last year, to play a lot of tennis and feature the matches. And I did feature some matches throughout the year. I had one against Mikey, a couple of them against Andre. I had one against Yevon. And then right after that Yevon match, I played Mikey and I got hurt. That's the first time I pulled a calf muscle. Then I played my buddy Mila and I got hurt again. Pulled my calf muscle again. Then I played Yevon again. I got hurt again. And this time I got hurt really, really bad. My calf, like right here. Right here, I hurt it. Right here. A little bit lower than normal. I started getting a little bit worried because it was so bad. I thought I might have even done something to my Achilles because it was lower than normal. And ever since then, I've been completely freaked out. I've been freaked out with Achilles because I know so many people that tore their Achilles. And it doesn't help to hear these stories. For example, I heard a story with Iga Make and her coach, Francisco Roig, and they were playing a game of mini tennis. I think it was in Rome. And Roig did a split step. He was playing with Iga, just mini tennis, and he did a split step and he completely tore his Achilles. And then Iga flew him out to Poland and they got him surgery. And then I know some people very close to me that had Achilles tears. And I know what the recovery is like, and it's brutal. And you guys know with Holger Rune, how long it's taken him to recover. He tore his Achilles in Stockholm last year. So I'm scared of the Achilles. But I want to play, but I'm scared to play because I'm nowhere near fit enough to play. I got to get myself in shape first. I've just been too busy and too injured to do any type of playing. But for example, prior to this live stream today, I went out and served a little bit. And I do land on my left leg when I serve. And normally it's been hurting when I land. But it hasn't been hurting in a while. And I did have a hitting lesson this morning with a guy. And I didn't feel anything in my leg. So I think it's like healed up pretty good. So now it's about stretching. And I've been doing a lot of massaging. I got a massage gun here right by me here. Look, I always keep this close to me. And I always massage it out. And this is a really good one here, this massage. And I've been doing a lot for it, but I need to do more. I need to keep it strong. I got to do a lot of therapy. And I do plan to get back out there this summer and play some matches and post on my channel because those are fun. That's good content. My mom hates that content because she thinks I'm going to get injured. I'm going to hurt myself really bad, which is probably true. I probably am going to hurt myself really bad. But I still think it's good content. It's fun content, and it's valuable, motivational, inspirational. You see what I'm doing out there wrong when I'm mic'd up, and you can try to apply the corrections that I'm trying to apply or the conclusions that I'm gathering from my mistakes. And I think it's good content. So that's why I'm scared. So we're going to cross that out. But my plan is to get back out there. So just know that. And hopefully I am, in the next few weeks, going to play another match and start hitting for real. And hopefully I'm going to be pain-free. So for sure by December, when it's match month on intuitive tennis, I'll be playing a lot of matches. That's my goal. And we got a lot of time until December. So hopefully by then I'm going to be fit enough to play. All right. So we got one more thing here on the board. We're going to cover it at the end. And we're going to get back into the chat and answer some more questions, guys. We're going to answer some more questions in the chat. Can you tell me the brand of and style of your massager? I don't know. It's called Rally. I did a UGC video for them. You know what I mean? User generated content. It's like a brand deal, but it's not posted anywhere on my channels. It's just for them, and then they use it. I did an ad for them. But it's not anywhere on my channels. It's just for the company to use for themselves. And they paid me. So it's a really good massager, really good. It's very expensive, though, but it's really, really good. High quality. It's called Rally. Rally. Very good. Rohit asks, do you think it's better to peak gradually during Grand Slam rounds rather than peaking from first round for Wimbledon? Sinner gradually peaked. In U.S. Open last year, he peaked too early and lost final. No, you can't look at it that way. There's no such thing as peaking or any of that. That's nonsense. What you'll see is guys having to do the following. If you want to keep going to Grand Slam, the number one thing is you get off the court as quickly as possible. So if you can get a match in like Sinner did against Bublik last year and win 1-1-1, you want to do that. You want to preserve your energy because there's a lot of matches to win a slam. And guys want to get off the court as quickly as possible. They don't want to waste energy. And if they're going to do that by peaking, they might. There's no such thing as conserving energy necessarily. It depends on the player and the style. Maybe some players could do that, but again, it's like not really seeing that from anyone. And no one is really conserving energy out there because the level is so high. You can't afford to do that. You got to play all out to be able to advance in a tournament like a Grand Slam, which is super competitive. I mean, look at Sinner against the Katzman first round. There was 5 sets. Sinner was down 2-1. So it's all about your road to the final. But these guys are top fit. Doesn't really affect them the same way it affects a guy like Djokovic or a guy like, I don't know, maybe a guy like Struff maybe, who's like 36. Like those guys really suffer if they are in the semis or in the quarters and they've played a lot of tennis. Completely different story from somebody that's younger, because when you're older, your recovery time decreases. It takes longer to recover between matches. And that's where Djokovic pays the price in a lot of Grand Slams because he's older right now, right? So Sinner did not find his best tennis when it mattered the most last year, and it was related to his serve. The serve wasn't that great through the entirety of the tournament, but it wasn't that he peaked or that he spent too much energy or played too well in the beginning and then couldn't play well because of that in the final. And no. It's not like racing where you start sprinting too early and then you're out of steam by the end. Listen, this is a very competitive game with a lot of great players, and you just want to advance to the next round as quickly as possible and then concentrate on the next match. You're not thinking about peaking and not peaking and all that. It's not a nonsense. But what you'll see often is the following. Even guys like Alcaraz and Sinner, they might feel some nerves in the beginning. So often won't play their best tennis in the beginning of a slam. Depends a little bit on the opponent, but they'll have a scratchy match in the first round. Like Alcaraz Fognini last year, Wimbledon first round was 5 sets. Or there was examples of Novak with some tough matches early in his prime. Rafa too. Federer too. And then what you'll see is them playing their best tennis towards the end stages of tournaments. So they play themselves into the tournament. They find their best tennis when it matters the most. And also, the level of the opponents goes up and their level increases because of the level of the opponent is higher. So, for example, like Sinner's level in the semi against Djokovic was so much better than any other match that he played. Why? Well, because he's Sinner. He's going to find his best level in late stages. But also, Djokovic brought his level up because Djokovic is incredible. Right? So the level of the opponent increases the level of the top guys too. That's another reason why they play better in the late stages. But yeah, nobody's like consciously or deliberately like trying to peak or this is none of that goes on in tennis tournaments. You're just trying to survive and go on to the next round and trying to not kill yourself out there with a 4-hour match in the best of 3 or a 5-6 hour match in a best of 5. Was happening at the Roland Garros this year, and you go into the next match dead or injured. Nobody wants that, you know? People just want to go into the next round healthy and give themselves the best chances to play their best tennis. Okay, guys, let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Okay, Mike says, will Alcaraz be ready for U.S. Open, and do you think he'll be able to play as good as before? I'm going to dedicate a video to Alcaraz and release it not tomorrow, but the day after. And we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff, guys. A lot of Alcaraz talk in a couple of days, okay? Who in history was your favorite men's player to watch? Rafa, Sasho. Rafa, my favorite player of all time by far. Nobody else comes close. Rafa all day long. It's not even a contest. Not even a contest. Should women play best of 5 at slams? Yes, I talked about that recently. I think in the final at least. Why not? David Goldberg asked a very, very good question. I'm going to get into this. This is a very good question. What's higher level, ITF or D1? That's a phenomenal question. So there, you can't really answer that question because it depends on what level of D1. So I'll give you a personal story, okay? So D1 at the top, where the ranked schools, it's just as good as ITF, if not better. Maybe it's like some teams even challenger level, maybe at the top positions, 1, 2, 3. But here's the thing: there's over 200 teams in Division 1. And when you get to the teams that are not ranked, because only 75 teams are ranked, at least when I played, level is way worse than ITF. Way worse. Not even you can't even make a comparison. Way worse. So it depends what level of D1 you're talking about. D1 is not some universal standard. You'll see players at D1 anywhere from like world, like elite level, like Isner, Anderson, Borges, who else? Shelton. You know what I'm saying. Guys like that. Ferry, who was just in the semifinal. You have that level, but you go all the way down to like 5-0 level, maybe even 4-5 level in D1. In D1. It has a wide range of levels. So when you take a look at ITF, you don't have that discrepancy. Unless you're going to an ITF somewhere in the middle of nowhere where it's weak. But even that's like not a thing anymore because a lot of people know it's a weak one and then everybody goes to the weak one. So, but even the weakest of the weak futures and the qualies is going to be better level overall than D1. And understand what I'm saying. The D1 at the ranked schools is incredibly good. It's like maybe even better than futures level. Maybe it's even challenger level at the top positions. But overall, the level at the ITF is better because there's a lot of teams in D1. That's what people don't understand. It's not just like 10 teams or 20 teams. It's like 200 and something teams in D1. So I'll give you the personal story. So I went and played D1, and my best friend in Germany was a great player called Rene Holm. And he had a very high German ranking. He was top 50 in Germany. And so I decided to play Division 1 college tennis while he at the same time decided to go play futures. And here's the thing. I played Rene in juniors, and I never lost to him. I beat him like probably 30 times in juniors. Never lost to him. And guess what? I went to play Division 1 college tennis. He went to play futures. Come back the first year. All of a sudden, it's some tight matches with Rene. I went in 3 sets. I go back to play college tennis. He goes back to play futures. 2 years later, I'm having a hard time taking a set off of Rene. And I play him in a tournament. I lose to him for the first time. I'll never forget that. So, like while I was at college, my level kind of stagnated while his went way up. Why? Because he was literally playing non-stop against guys of rankings of like, he was playing guys that are like 2, 3, 4, 500 in the world, or constantly playing guys with ATP points. While I was, in college studying, and in the fall season, I only played like 2 tournaments or 3 tournaments, barely played any tournaments in the fall season, was studying. And then in the spring season, you play team matches and you do play some great opponents, but then you play teams. And I played Division 1. I played teams where I'm winning 1-1. And it was not the same level of competition. And actually what helped me a lot was actually going to Europe and playing the clubs and playing prize money tournaments for 3 months before going back to the United States. And that's where I did really well in Europe in the summer. And I would kind of catch up with my friend Rene and start doing better because I was training with more consistently playing better opponents, where Some of that is because I played for a smaller Division One school. So if I would have played for like where I was originally going to go, it was my first choice actually, Virginia Commonwealth University. They were at that time top 10 in the nation, D1, and they offered me like a full ride as well. But I decided to go with Mel Purcell at Murray State. Um, and because I wouldn't have played number one at VCU, and I wanted to play number one, don't ask. But if I would have played for VCU, I would have consistently had a more better opponents. It would have been better for me as a tennis player. I think the fact that I went to Murray State hurt me because there was a lot of like, there was nobody there other than Mel that can beat me. And if I was like in a team where there were guys that I could lose to, I think my level would have gone up, And if he would have had a better, although we had a really good schedule at Murray State because of Mel's connections. Mel played for Tennessee and he played for Memphis. So we played Tennessee every year. We played in Georgia a lot. We played Mississippi State. We played Ohio State. We played a lot of good teams. But yeah, I mean, if you play for a SEC school and you're in that conference, you're going to have nonstop great matches. And our conference was Ohio Valley Conference, and I was Conference Player of the Year 3 years. And it just wasn't that much competition there. There was a couple of guys that were good, but I was better than everybody there. So that wasn't really that good for my game. So that's what I was doing in college while my friend Rene was playing futures every week or every other week. And so he got a lot better. My level stagnated. So comparing ITF to D1, it's a very difficult comparison, but it depends on what D1, what position of D1, and it also depends, of course, what ITF you're playing. Are you playing in Europe? Are you playing in the United States? Or are you traveling to these like weak ones? So that's a little bit of a tricky question. But generally speaking, ITF way better than D1. Okay, we got a couple of super chats here. Let's get to these guys. Where's the super chats at? Okay. What was difference between Djoko and Zverev game when they played Sinner? Zverev managed to win one set while Djoko lost in straights 3. Well, Rafa, look, Djokovic was far from his best in that match. He didn't really have any answers for Sinner. He wasn't able to put Sinner under enough pressure. But there's people that said like, "Oh, Djokovic is too old to what?" Do you have like memory loss? Like you don't remember Australian Open where Djokovic beat Sinner in the semifinals? You don't remember that? That you forgot about that? Check yourself on that one. That's not a good argument. So that's where Djokovic played very aggressive. He wasn't really able to get that aggressive because he was constantly playing defense. Sinner was on fire. He played way better than in Australia. So that was the difference. Zverev, on the other hand, was able to put pressure on Sinner. He was serving more aggressively, more aggressive locations, and he was hitting his forehand 10 miles an hour faster than Sinner. He was blasting the forehand. That was the difference. Zverev was playing aggressive. Djokovic unable to play aggressive. I hope that answers your question. Let's see. There was another super chat, I thought. Hold on. There's just one? I thought I saw 2. I guess there's just one. Hold on, let's see. Yeah. Hi, Nick. Would you choose Nadal forehand or Djokovic forehand? I don't know. That's a tough question. Maybe I would choose Djokovic forehand. Nadal forehand that's tough. I don't think my body could handle that. My arm would fall off. It'd go flying with the racket to the other side of the court. How you liking that Wimby PD cosmetic? I love it. I think it's so amazing. Look at that. It's beautiful. Look at that thing. An absolutely beautiful racket. Love it. I think it's so cool. And it plays well. I play with it. It hits, it's the same as a regular pure drive, so it's just a paint job. But it's a nice racket. For sure, a nice racket. Okay, let's see. What time is it? Ooh, it's already 9:26. Are you still on the pure drive as your main racket? Yes. Yeah, Yes, I am. The Pure Drive Plus. Like today when I practice serves, I was using the Pure Drive Plus. It's my main racket. Who's the GOAT in coaching in your opinion? Well, that's got to be my main man. Rest in peace, Nicky Pilic. He's one of the GOATs, one of the greatest of all time. Nicky was amazing. And, it was so nice to see in Germany a lot of the former players on several occasions, made a tribute to Nicky by showing up. It was Becker, Stich, Patrick Kühnen, Karl-Uwe Steb, Erik Jelen, Bernd Kabacher, Mark-Kevin Göllner. They showed up, for example, the tournament in Munich and did like a little tribute to Nicky. Some of them even showed up to Nicky's funeral. You know who else showed up to Nicky's funeral? Novak Djokovic. So you can see how much respect these guys had for these great champions had for Nicky, and to me is like one of the GOATs of coaching. Rest in peace. Who is the ATP player that has a comparable game to yours? It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, my friend Harold. Does not exist. Not that, like I said, it's just I'm old, man. I know some people were comparing. Like I would get guys that when I was younger, and they would say, "Oh, you play like this guy, like that guy." Maybe back in the '90s, you could see some guys with my type of style and technique and stuff like that, but not. You don't really see tall guys who can't move on tour anymore. With like weird looking ground strokes. You don't really see that. So yeah, nobody, absolutely nobody. Let's see. Let's see what else is going on in the super chat, guys, before we go on to the next topic. Ferry attends Stanford University. Ferry attended Stanford University. Not anymore. He's not there anymore. He's on tour full time. Let's see here. What else is going on in the chat, guys? Pretty good crowd in here on this Q&A. Pretty decent. Let's see here. Are you a tennis coach? Yep. I've been coaching since 13 years old. I am a tennis coach. Intuitive tennis is a great source for learning tennis. Any stroke that you want to learn, from the technical to the mental to the fitness to everything that encompasses the game of tennis is available at Intuitive Tennis. And on the Intuitive Tennis YouTube channel or on intuitivetennis.com, which brings me to Intuitive Tennis Premium, the last thing on my board, Intuitive Tennis Premium ITP, available on intuitivetennis.com on the browser when you type that in, also on the iOS app. If you want to support Intuitive Tennis, you can subscribe to Intuitive Tennis Premium. If you want to have premium access to videos, if you want to see content that's not available on YouTube, you sign up for Intuitive Tennis Premium. If you want to see pre-releases, meaning videos that are eventually going to come out on YouTube, but who knows when, those are always going to be blasted first on Intuitive Tennis Premium. If you want to get access to discounts to my private coaching, you can sign up for Intuitive Tennis Premium. If you want to get discounts to the very limited availability in-person coaching, you sign up for Intuitive Tennis Premium. If you want to have more personal access to me and ask me questions, you sign up for Intuitive Tennis Premium. So go to intuitivetennis.com or click the link from the Nightbot over here and join the Intuitive Tennis community, guys. I think you're gonna like it. So let's do a couple more things in the chat over here. We have covered everything here on the board. We're good on the board, guys. And we're gonna actually stay here a little bit longer. What do you guys think? Should we stay or should we go? I do have to eat dinner at some point though. So we'll see. This won't be the last Q&A though, because we got US Open coming up, and there'll be several more afterwards. There'll be a season-ending Q&A and all that. So these are going to keep going. These are going to keep happening. So don't worry about that, guys. Okay, let's see. David Goldberg. I don't really want to tell you the name because I'm not the guy that's going to name drop. But I worked here in Florida with like Grand Slam champion level. But I'm never going to drop the name because I hate that. But yeah, I've worked with some players that won Grand Slams. Females. Let's see here. Carlos will be back even if he has to change his forehand or something. I think it's going to be fine. But again, we're going to talk Carlitos in a couple of days because I think it's a very interesting topic and very important to discuss. Let me see one more. I think you guys are kind of done asking questions over here. As a Nadal fan, who did you root for whenever Djokovic and Federer clashed in Grand Slams? Oh, that's a good question. Oh, that's a good one. Let me try to think. It would depend if these guys were playing semis and Nadal was waiting in the final. So I would always kind of figure out who would be easier for Nadal. And often it was easier on clay to play Federer. And I don't even remember if Federer ever played Djokovic in the semis of any tournament and then played Nadal. I don't remember, but it was surface dependent, but it was also dependent on who I thought was going to be the easier match. For Rafa, and often in my mind, it was Federer. But then Federer was dominating Nadal. In 2017, it was destroying him. After he beat him in Australia, it was like was really on fire against Nadal. Yeah, I know it's hard to say. It's hard to say who I was cheering for, Federer or Djokovic. I don't know. I was kind of neutral in that one, to be really honest with you, because I wanted Nadal to beat both of them, you know. Let's see here. Is Davis Cup dead forever? Keydon asked that. Keydon is a guy that's in the live streams a lot. I appreciate you, Keydon. Yeah, in my eyes, it's been changed to the point where it's like a lot less interesting. But listen, it's still tennis. It's still a tennis competition. It's still fun. Like we had that Bergs Kaboli match last year. That was Davis Cup. That was one of the best matches of 2025. So it's still good, but nothing compared to the way it used to be. That was way better. I don't think it's completely dead, but they're trying to kill that thing. What do you think of the Winners Only Tennis channel? I enjoy watching the two players growing their tennis journey. Underrated one. I thought there was only one guy in Winners Only. I'm familiar with it. I know the guy. I didn't realize there's two of them, I guess. But Winners Only, I think they're doing really great. They're doing getting some good views. I think it's a great channel. I've watched a couple of videos here and there, but I thought it was only one guy. I didn't know it was two of them. Let's see here. Oh, thank you, Forever25. I appreciate you joining my live streams during matches. I appreciate that very much. Oh, one is 3-5, the other one is 4-5. The younger brother. Okay, cool. That's a really good idea. They get two. They're doing a great job with the thumbnails. I see the thumbnails. They're looking really good. And there was one video that blew up that they did recently. They got 400,000 views, which is like really good. Something about like a rec players versus like a pro or something like that. Oh, got like 300,000 or something. So yeah, Winners Only doing really well. That's great. Sharapova has a new podcast. I didn't know that, but I saw Andy Murray and Jamie Murray's new YouTube channel. There's so much competition on YouTube. Everybody got YouTube channels now. It's like insane how much competition there is. It's crazy. But Andy Murray and Jamie Murray's YouTube channel is doing really well. It's getting tons of views. I've not watched the videos yet, but I've been seeing the thumbnails, and the videos are blowing up. Look, the Batman 696 asked, why do you think United States is so far behind other countries in terms of Grand Slam dominance? We have some, but it seems difficult for guys to break through. Look, you can't really. I mean, look, you can't really expect these guys to go through Sinner and Alcaraz. It's going to be very difficult. And now there's Zverev there. There's Djokovic is still there. Look at the head-to-head record between Fritz and Djokovic. Like, it's tough for the Americans, and Fritz is the best American at the Grand Slam level. Then before them was trying to break through the big three. How difficult is that? Maybe even more difficult, because you might have to win like Djokovic quarters, Federer semis, Nadal final. On clay, you're going to win Roland Garros as an American? Yeah, right. So that's the problem. It's been like very dominant at the top and no chance for the Americans. And I don't think it's going to change, unfortunately, for the Americans. Oh, thank you, Baba Shamir. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. How do you feel about the new ATP doubles rule? I don't even know there's a rule. I need to read up on that. I don't know what the new rule is. I know there was some drama with the doubles. They were trying to cut the draws and stuff like that. I don't really know enough about it. I have to read up on it before I comment. I don't know. But guys, you know what? I think we've been here for 2 hours. I need to eat something. It's been a long day. Let me do like one more question and then I get out of here, okay? Who wants to ask the last question? Go on, guys. One more question and we get out of here. What is the next match you'll be uploading? You mean next match play? It's going to be a Shamir match, another 4-0 versus 4-0, another Shamir match. I'm working with Shamir, trying to get his game back to where it was prior to his injury. So it's going to be a Shamir match, and then hopefully it's going to be an Emma match, and then hopefully one of my matches. Hopefully I'm going to be able to play. So we'll see. Listen, who could surprise people at U.S. Open? We don't know. We have to wait until these tournaments play out. These the Canada Masters and the Cincinnati Masters, and then kind of start thinking about U.S. Open. We really don't know. It's just a guessing game now. Who knows? I don't know. We have to see. We have to see, guys. Let's see here. One more question. Could Sinner break Djokovic's ranking point record? I think he can, for sure. That he can break. Sinner, for sure he can break that. As crazy as it sounds, but Sinner can get on a roll, on a rampage. He can break it. I think he can. Oh no, Mboko is not going to Toronto. Oh, that's a bummer. Oh, her knee is still hurt from that slip in Queens. Man, it's a bummer. That's a bummer. She's one of my favorite players to watch. Incredible defender, huge power, big serve. That's a big bummer for Mboko because she's going to lose a lot of points. She won that tournament last year. Beat Osaka in the final. So hopefully she's back for the US Open like Brooke Pfeiffe says. One more question, guys, and I'll get out of here. One more question. And I'll be out of here, guys. I'm going to close this off. What about Rune? Is he coming back soon? He was supposed to come back in Hamburg at a clay court season the week before Roland Garros, and then, he thought it was too early, and then I don't know whether he thought about grass court season or not. That's a tough one with the Achilles, I guess. So maybe he'll be back for hardcourt. I heard something interesting from the mom where Holger, because he was lifting or something, he gained like 10 kilos of muscle, and he's lost that since then because he started doing more cardio. But yeah, supposedly he had gained 10 kilos of muscle and then lost 10 kilos of muscle. But who knows whether what I read was true or not, but that's what I read. Who disappointed you most at Roland Garros? Whoa. That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. Who disappointed me most at Roland Garros? Sinner. It's funny. I don't know if this Yannick, that wasn't disappointing from Yannick. It was just unfortunate to see him struggle physically. Let's see. I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't answer that one. I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one, man. I don't know. What else you got here? Do you eat everything? Pizza, burgers, etc. If they're vegan, I'll eat them. Yeah, sure. I've been a vegan for 15 years. A vegan pizza, vegan burger, I'll eat sometimes. Yeah, sure. Predictions for US Open before leaving. Babolat Shamir, man, I can't do it before the draw comes out. And like I said, I have to wait until the Canada Masters plays out and the Cincinnati plays out. Collect information from there. Otherwise, it's just like a guessing game. I do want to make an educated prediction, because then it has a better chance of being correct. Well, the guy Adams5, the guy asked about Roland Garros, not Wimbledon. Who disappointed you the most at Roland Garros? That's what I thought he asked. Wimbledon for sure was Shelton, the most disappointing loss for sure, definitely. Losing to Vertanen, that was a shocker, big time. I had Ben losing though. I didn't have Ben going far. I had Ben losing to Menchik. But I think Menchik was disappointing too, to be really honest with you. That was disappointing. See him lose to Dimitrov. So yeah, Shelton is hurt. Is it really? That I didn't know. That I did not know, guys. All right, guys, we're done with the board. This was a fun Q&A. We had quite a few people in here. It was pretty good. And I will see you guys in a video in a couple of days, okay? I want to thank you again for, joining my live streams. I want to thank you for, getting sliding in the comments sections of my videos. And if you haven't yet subscribed to Intuitive Tennis, hit like on this video. If you want to go in more depth, if you want to support Intuitive Tennis, if you want to get access to perks, if you want to get premium content, subscribe to Intuitive Tennis Premium, available on intuitivetennis.com. Also available on the iOS App Store. Just type in Intuitive Tennis or click on some of the links that the Nightbot is showing you over here. Nightbot is me. I'm the Nightbot in the chat, just so you know. So I'll see you guys on the next one, okay? Take care.